Hello, young scientists. Mr. Yonker here, Mr. Y, the science guy. And I decided to make you a video to show you how I make Oobleck, which is what we're going to use for our experiment in just a couple weeks. And so I'm going to just talk to you about a couple things related to it. First of all, there's this whole, and this might look like my kitchen, and actually it is my kitchen, the Yonker family kitchen, but it's also my science lab. But don't tell Mrs. Yonker that I'm using it as a science lab, and I'm also using some of her kitchen items that are now my science items. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about properties of matter. So what are properties? What is a property? And a property is something of substance that you can observe and that you can test. And so one of the things that we're going to be looking at is something that's going to be kind of like water. And so this jug here, this water bottle of mine, is filled with water. And I want you to notice things about this, about the shape, and what other properties of this water bottle do you notice? Think about that. Maybe write it down if you have an opportunity. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour it into here and think again about what are the properties of water in this form, and this is in the liquid form. What do you notice about the properties? Even as I pour it, what stands out to you in your thinking? And so that's water. What are the properties of water? And so I'm going to go ahead and pour it back in. But notice too that if I pour it into this bowl, you can hear the sound, but notice even what it looks like in the bowl. And I don't know if you can see that, but I'll hold it up to the camera so maybe you can see it a little bit. I'll try not to spill it on Mrs. Yonker's floor here. But that's water in the liquid form. But here's another form as well. So what do you call the form? If that's liquid, what do you call this form of water? What does it look like to you? If you guessed, what did you guess? Is it a liquid? No, it's not a liquid. It's actually, it's ice, but it's a solid. But what are the properties of this? If you were going to write down a couple properties of this matter, this water, what would you write down? And notice too that when I pour this water in solid form, it's kind of different, isn't it? It looks different, isn't it? It doesn't quite do the same thing when I poured the liquid in. So I'm going to go put that in here for now. Really what I want to show you is how I make the Oobleck, but then I'm going to ask you some questions, and when we do the experiment as a class, you're going to be experimenting with Oobleck to decide what it is, what are properties. So to make Oobleck, we're going to mix in 1 cup of water, and so I've got my measurement cup of science here, and I'm going to go ahead and fill this up to 1 cup, right about there, and I'm going to go ahead and pour that in my science mixing bowl. And then it says to mix in 1½ cups of cornstarch. And so I have cornstarch here, and you could do this at home. These are simple items that you can get anywhere, and you probably have someone, but it's cornstarch. And so this will be made up for you when we do the lab. But I'm going to go ahead and put in here 1½ cups of cornstarch. And it's pretty powdery. It looks almost like baking soda or what you make bread out of. And I have a little more than 1½ cups, so I'm going to take some out. And now I have 1½ cups of starch, and you can see that if I hold that up close, you can see I'm right on that mark. So when you measure things as a scientist, you want to be pretty accurate so that you get the results that you want. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this in slowly. into my science bowl. So I'm probably going to want to add just a little bit more cornstarch to it and mix that in. And just to get it perfect, just perfect for you when you do it too. And so I'll be making this up that morning. And, oh, here we go. This is perfect now. So when I mix it up, this is what I'm seeing. It runs, but look at, but I can do that with it too. So you're going to use different items like plastic spoons and other things to run some tests, because that's what scientists do. You're going to run some tests and you're going to make some observations. What is this stuff? And why does it act the way it does? And so hopefully you're going to learn a little bit about the science concept, properties of matter, and you're going to make some observations. And I hope too that as you do this as young scientists, you're going to ask some questions. And sometimes we can answer the questions right away, and sometimes we can't. But one of the big things that scientists do is they do research, is they make observations, they ask questions, and then they talk together as young scientists to decide answers to their questions. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to doing the lab with you. Have a wonderful rest of your school day, and we'll see you soon.